Okay, hello. So, recently I was talking to one of my friends, and he was like, I don't really know how to play the piano, and like I want to, and he was trying to get an idea of the different feels for the instrument and to kind of deepen his understanding of music theory. And music theory I think really intimidates a lot of people, and I think the piano is like probably the easiest instrument to really simplify it. So there's a couple kind of foundational things that I'm just going to very briefly cover, and then we'll just kind of like fool around, and I'll show you how to make it sound good when you don't actually have a clue what you're doing. So for the purposes of today, I'm only going to use the white keys, meaning no sharps and no flats. So if you've ever studied music, probably one of the first things you learn that is the key of C major. Yep, that was the F chord. C major. So if you play all the white keys from C to C, here's what it sounds like. Classic major scale, right? Easy stuff. Now, what if you played the exact same notes, but instead of playing from C to C, you play from D to D? It's a really different flavor, because at the end there, especially that, it kind of jumps up a little bit, so compared to. And so actually the first scale is built around this chord. The second scale is built around this chord, which is D minor. Same exact notes in the scale, but different emphasis, right? Okay, so what if we do the same thing from E to E? So now it doesn't sound that weird, except if you listen to those first two notes, that's actually kind of weird. That's a flat second, it's a half step. So, that's pretty weird. And that's built around E minor. Next, I'm going to do this for all of these just to like beat the dead horse and really show you what's going on here. Then let's do it from F to F. So let me just be clear. So far we have C major, D minor, E minor, and now it's kind of nice, kind of hopeful at the end there. It's based on this chord, relative to, right? So, okay. To continue beating this dead horse, let's go from G to G. That's kind of a bluesy major scale, which is notes around G. So we could do like. Ooh, what am I doing here? Well, we're playing this B, so if we play from B to B, I'm skipping A, but let's do B to B just to show you. That doesn't really ever really sound good. That's called the Locrian mode. It's built around this chord, which is B diminished. So again, all of the same notes, all just the white keys. We're not changing anything. We're just playing them in a different order. So that was B to B. And then let's just for fullness do A to A. So it's minor scale there. And so some people might know what I'm getting at with this. These are all the different modes of the major scale. So we have C. C is the key, because if we were to put this on music staff paper and we were to like do the thing where you see, what's sharp and what's flat, the key is the key of C, right? So these are all the notes in key of C. For key of E, for example, it's different. It's that's E. And you can do the same thing with E. Just for simplicity, though, I'm going to do it with C. But, with E, you could go for that second mode. So the second mode, so you start with the first mode, which is just built off of C. And now you're going up to D minor, E minor, F major, G major. Ooh, that A minor always sounds so sad. Then B diminished, then you're back up to C. And so for most like normal music, for about like 90% of music, I would say that it's kind of built around this type of scale. There are other scales that don't use the same notes and the spacings between them. For example, the Phrygian dominant would be instead of, you would have, so that's really, it's really, ooh, you know? But you could even do this for that. So what you would do there is you would have this chord and this chord, which gives it kind of a flamenco, like, and then, so then that would be a 1 major chord and a flat 2 major chord, and those combine to give you the scale. Sorry, I'm talking about this in a kind of weird roundabout way, but the point is, if you have your scale and you just do what are called triads, meaning you take 3 notes together, and for most chords, the triads that you're going to use are going to involve the 1st and the 5th. So I don't know if you can see, but basically, in this case it's C, C, and the 5th of C is G, right? D and the 5th of D is A, E and the 5th of E is B, and so on. And so that's kind of, those are 2 of your notes, and then generally speaking in music theory, you can kind of add to that 5th to make the chord have a certain flavor. So if you add a major 3rd, it has a major sound. If you add a minor 3rd, then it has a minor sound. In both cases, we're playing the same, these 2 notes, we're just adding this versus this, right? And if you really want to have some fun, a really good way to practice this is just play a 5th and sing the 3rd. Let's see if I can do this, put on the spot. Right? Or minor. And then you can also do sus chords like you know, so that's a really cool way that you can practice this to kind of get it in your ears, to like hear how it actually sounds and feels. Anyway, when you're building these triads, what you can do is just play 5ths and 3rds. And if you just play the notes in the scale, so if you just do 1 note, then skip 1, then another, you're going to get a 3rd. And then if you skip another and then take the next one, you'll get a 5th. So C, skip D, then take the E, that's your 3rd. C, E is a 3rd, major 3rd. Then skip the F, take the G, C, E, G, that's a C major chord. Now if you do the same starting from D, based on the way that the flats and things are spaced in between, you actually get a D minor chord. And then an E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished. And so it actually turns out that whenever you have a major scale, if you approach things in this way, you'll get that ordering of chords. So for example, if I did this in E, I won't bother you with like telling you what all the notes are and stuff, but we have the same 1 major, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4 major, 5 major, 6 minor, and then 7 diminished, and then back to the 1, right? Okay, so that's very basic music theory. That's about all I'm going to say. Now, here's the part that you're probably interested in, is how do I make a piano sound good when I don't have a clue what I'm doing? So all I want you to do are to take these triads, we'll keep it in C major just to keep it simple, only white keys. Don't even worry about all these black keys. Doesn't matter. Screw the black keys. Only white keys in this case, and this is kind of a cheat. It's kind of a hack. Professional piano players will rail on you, but we're not professional piano players. Just keep your foot on the pedal. Everything just sustains for a while. Makes it easier to kind of just capture what's going on, right? Yeah. And so if you know the scale and you just hold all the notes, most of the time it sounds pretty good. And so then you can start doing stuff that's And you don't even have to really think about what these notes are, because they're all in the scale. I agree that black keys matter, yes. But not in the key of C. Not when we're in the key of C. See, I'm not even paying any attention to what I'm playing, and it sounds good, because I'm in the key, you know, and I'm just playing chords. And so if you want to dive into the technical theory of like why that works, it's because since we're staying in the scale, when we play this note over this chord, two things that I just randomly picked, when we're in the scale, the relationship always works, as opposed to that relationship does not work, but the note I played was not in the scale. You know, and so if you really want to dive into like advanced music theory, you can figure out all the, you know, other ones that sometimes work, because they do all sometimes work in the right context. But if you're just trying to keep it simple, make a piano sound good, so that's the idea. You know, I don't think there's really that much more to explain. The other thing is, again, you can do this in any key as long as you know the key. So I like to do this in E major a lot, for example. That's the other thing. You don't have to play triads with your left hand or your right hand. You can just play notes, you know, like. And the fact that all of them are sustaining like this makes those relationships coherent. And that's pretty much all there is to it. I mean, again, like, you can really dive into the complexities to really build on that. But I think at the most fundamental level, like, playing the piano is really easy. So I've owned this piano, and I've played the piano for about 3 months. Of course, I've played the guitar for about 17 years, so, like, I have some theory knowledge, but, you know, like, it doesn't take long of just messing around. What it is I'm not really afraid to like mess up, because I know like it'll sound good if I just stay in the key, and so because of that I can move my fingers a little faster. I don't even really think about it. I'm just trying to, because what I really need to work on to get better at the piano isn't really the theory as much as it is the finger technique. I need to just kind of learn how to play faster. You might notice I don't really play very fast. You should have seen me 2 months ago. Then you can do other things, like if you're really intentional about that sort of thing. So what we're doing there is we're actually going to the Lydian mode by playing a sharp 11 chord. And so this is kind of alright. That's usually the key, but when we emphasize this note, called a tritone, a flat 5 interval, and it actually makes us feel like we're in what key would this be? E Lydian would be B Ionian. that key when I do that. But I play it from here to here. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I think, I don't think it's really more complicated than that. I think you can really just go for it. I think, like, anything about learning music, it's always, you just gotta go for it, you know? Like, if you think that what you're gonna play is going to be wrong and terrible and everything like that, if you think that before you play it, I guarantee you will be correct. Because you don't have the confidence to actually play something coherent and pay attention and things like that. So, like, it's really more, for me, it's always been more about just developing the confidence to just, like, without thinking. And you sometimes find just these beautiful, a major 7 chord classic. Minor major 7. Ooh. Such a sound. And so the way that I kind of come up with musical ideas for my songs and stuff is, a lot of the time I'll just sit down at the piano and just mess around until I come up with something that I like. And after a while, I always do, because I just think it's, if I just let myself do whatever, eventually I'll come to something that sounds kind of cool, or something that I think sounds kind of cool. Right? Like, that could be the basis of a whole song right there. Simple. It's really simple. Maybe I'm making it seem easy and it's not in reality. I don't really know, but I really think it is simple. And again, I really like to play in E major a lot. In case you couldn't tell, that was the scale I've been playing for the past 10 minutes. But you can do this in C just as easily. There's a song I put on my SoundCloud recently, which I wrote in this way, which was just... Let me do it higher so you can kind of tell what I'm doing. I just think that progression is so beautiful, Let me give you one more tip. So what I'm doing here is actually an inverted chord. So before I was saying you can take 3 notes together, and that's how you make a triad, which is how you make a chord, essentially. Let's just use C major as an example. So you got C, E, G, right? But you don't have to play them C, E, G. What if you play them E, G, C? So that's called first inversion. Both of them are C chords, but they have kind of a different flavor from each other. And then you can also play G, C, E. Really different flavor there, right? Because you have this 4th instead of a 5th. That sounds pretty different, yeah? And then, you keep going and stuff like that. But, so that's kind of the idea behind inversions. Yeah, so first inversion, C, E, G. Second inversion, E, G, C. And third inversion, G, C, E. Now, the name of the inversion is basically the note that is at the bottom. So if the C is at the bottom, that C is the root, therefore C, E, G is root position. If E is at the bottom, E is the first after the root. It's called the first. So the bass note, the lowest note is not the root, but the one higher than that. So that's first inversion. And second, in second inversion, your second note above the root is in the bass. So yeah, in that case it was a G. And so anyway, this progression that I love is this is a D minor second inversion, and then this is what's this? Is it really? Huh. This is an F major chord, first inversion. So we have. And so the interesting thing is, when you go from D minor second inversion to F major first inversion, all you're actually doing is you're just lowering one note, because in both cases you have this relation. Both chords have an A and a F, but you're just lowering the D to a C. Right? It's beautiful, beautiful. And so then the other chord in there is this is a C major? Yeah, this is a C major second inversion, which is really just D major first inversion, second inversion lowered by a whole step. Yeah, so that's a nice trick that you can do, is to not just play triads like this, but also, you know, just move, take a chord and move just one note. And it's really, I think that's pretty simple. It's a trick though. You have to kind of know that that's a trick to be able to use the trick. So here I am telling you the tricks. This is how you make a piano sound good. You kind of have to do it a little bit for yourself. Like, this won't come to you instantly, I don't think. But it shouldn't take too long if you're just... Yeah, none of that, I'm not thinking about any of this. Here's another trick. If you like the way something sounds, repeat it. You know, I feel like that one should be obvious, you know? Like, don't just run to the next thing. If you don't know what the next thing is and you like what you're doing, just stay and keep doing what you're doing. You know, have kind of the patience for the... One thing I've learned from playing music for so long is, like, a lot of the best improvisation is, like, the simplest and the most patient. And, you know, you could play 3 chords for about 5 minutes, and intellectually it sounds, oh, that sounds terrible, but I could send you 10 jams that are just unbelievably good, that just sit on, like, 2 different chords forever. And then, eventually, you know, you're going with the flow. Eventually the flow might lead somewhere else. But if the flow's not leading you away, don't just, like, run away. You know, that doesn't make any sense to me. Of course, I do it sometimes too, but the more you practice, what it is it's kind of an anxiety thing, I think. You know, you want it to sound good, you don't want it to be repetitive. I get it. I'm the same way, you know, but like, sometimes it does kind of take a bit of courage to just say on one thing. keep wanting to do that there, which I could do, but you know. But I'm not gonna all of a sudden go, you know, like I could, but like I wouldn't expect it to sound as good because I don't even really know what that sounds like as much before I go and play it. I think mastery in music is when you know what everything sounds like before you play it, and that's kind of what I focus on, doing things like, you know, like that sort of thing. But in any case, though, like that's the thing that takes a lot of time to develop, and it's all intuition. At least in my opinion, and for me, it's all intuition. The other thing about being repetitive is, you know, the notes that you pick is only like the smallest bit of the feeling that you convey. So, you know, listen, try to play one note in like 10 different ways, like. You know, like, all of these have different feelings, and so when you're doing this in the context of music, you know, has a different sound then. I love getting just so soft. One more trick, and then I think I'm out of tricks. Maybe we'll see, I guess. But when you play a chord like this, all 3 notes at the same time, that's called just playing them harmonically, I guess you could say. You can also arpeggiate the chords. So the C major chord is C, E, G. If you play them at the same time, that's playing it just C chord. If you play them one at a time, it's called the C arpeggio. I mean, just doing that sounds good. And so what you'll hear me do a lot is, like, I'll play a chord and then arpeggiate it. So I'll play it as a chord and then play it one note at a time. Just getting kind of into the feel of when to use one or the other, you know, like that to me again is all intuition, and I can't really teach you that. You have to go sit down at a piano to learn that, I think. There's not really any other way. But I can give you my little bag of tricks. Here's my bag of tricks. And you can use those to start. Maybe this will be helpful to people. Maybe it won't make much sense. I don't know. So just to kind of recap, and then I'm going to sign off here. Start just C major. And remember, there's all sorts of different feels that you can get just playing notes in different orders. So there's a very different feel than, you know, it's 2 very different verses. That last note always gets me. You know, it's like, and so all the same notes, different feel. Start key of C, only the white keys. Only the white keys. We don't care about black keys when we're in C major. Black keys matter, but not when we're in C major. Sorry. other trick is make chords. So have your scale, skip a note, take one, skip a note, take one. So C, so E, skip F, take G, skip A, take B. Get yourself an E minor chord. You do this for anywhere in the scale, and you have chords for all of them. Each of those has an individual flavor. And so then last trick, or one of the last tricks, and you can play those chords as chords or as arpeggios, so you could play them arpeggio, chord, arpeggio, etc. And so then it's just kind of using two hands and like playing notes and stuff. The other thing to do is, honestly, if you don't really know what you're doing, just hold the pedal down. Because the thing that, it isn't hard for me to use my fingers in the right way. It is hard for me to like think about what my foot is doing. Yeah, I'm not one of those pianists that's like, I gotta learn how to do that next, I think. You know, some people are going crazy with the foot pedal. I don't know how to do it. So that'll be the next thing for me to learn. But when you're learning, just keep it on there. You know, all that sustain just sounds really good. And then last but not least, just don't think about it. If it sounds bad, if it sounds bad, what I would recommend would be spreading your fingers out more. Because I think it's harder to make, you know, when they're really close together like that, not as good as. You know, spreading your fingers out makes it feel more open, and you get what are called overtones, which is when you can kind of hear the higher note that from the combination of it like implies a higher note even though you haven't played it. You can kind of hear it. That's what an overtone is. And when you play so openly, you get a lot of overtones. So you can kind of miss the right note that you're looking for and still get all these other really nice flavors of notes from your overtones. And so that's another benefit of using sustain all the time, is you get a lot of overtones. Stuff like that, you know? Stuff like that. I think that's all. Just be patient with yourself, man, because it does take time to really develop the intuition. I think the theory shouldn't take that long to develop, to be totally honest with you. Like, you know, I just told you pretty much all the theory you need. Just play the white keys. Now, if you want to dive really deep into theory, you can learn how to use the other notes. And again, you can use all the notes just depending on the situation. All of them can be used, but a lot of them are situational. However, there's a great point to make here. You know, of this white keys and the black keys, there's 12 notes in total, from C to C. And if you just play the white keys, you have the key of C major, and you're ignoring 5 flats and majors. You're ignoring 5 flats and sharps. That's kind of a cool chord. Nice. Anyway, 12 notes, 7 of them are in your scale, 5 of them are not. They're situational. So if you just pick a round note, okay, it's hard to pick a round note on the piano because I know where the black keys are compared to the white ones. If you just pick a round note, though, you have a greater than 50% chance of it being in the scale. So you might as well just like play it. You know, like you can just do that. You can really just do that, and more than 50% of the time you'll be in the scale. And if you're ever not in the scale, you just go up or down a half step, and then you are. So it's really easy to make right notes, to make notes sound right. I say right because, like, again, everything is situational. For example, I was showing you the harmonic minor before, so. You know? This note is not in the scale, but in certain contexts, you can still make it sound good. And there's also, all these notes are like that, you know? Sometimes even notes that are in the scale don't sound as good. In any case, those are the tricks that I think will help you at least get started. I'm not a pianist. I don't have a clue what I'm doing beyond what I've told you today. But I think it sounds good, and I think it's fun, and I'm going to keep doing it and kind of developing that intuition. You know, on guitar, I know where all the kind of situational notes are that are wrong. And I know how to use them really effectively on guitar, and I think as part of learning to play the piano, that's what I'm going to be working on, is kind of figuring out how to translate that over, you know, like that. Not in the scale. Alright, well, it depends on your scale. Weird sound and stuff, but if you know how to do it, it sounds pretty good sometimes. So that's all I'm gonna say. Good luck to you. Go play some music. It's really fun, you know. Like just have fun. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hope this helps. See you next time.